How political is it when it comes to building?
You, as the developer, are responsible for every single cost.
Does the local jurisdiction like to play games?
They're not gonna work with you, they're not gonna talk with you while
There
we're
was no
still in frame.
agreement.
Nothing.
Today, we have a very interesting kickoff to our podcast series. I, Roman Voronin, sell mostly commercial real estate. And in selling commercial real estate, we run across a lot of very important vendors. And there's many different aspects when it comes to commercial real estate. Depending on what sector you focus on, if you focus on sales or leasing, landlord rep, buyer rep, depending on what you do will depend on what kind of vendors you will run into. We mostly focus on landlord rep and sales. What usually ends up happening is our clients will call us, they want to build something, they want to buy something, and they want to lease it, and that's where we will step in. And today I want to introduce you to one of our VIP vendors, Philip Yevchik with K&Y Builders. Everything that we need done when it comes to commercial contracting, Philip's our guy. And while I like working with Philip, he's young, he's hungry, he's motivated, and we have a pretty strict unofficial rule at Ronan Realty is we don't really like feelings. We like to keep it business. And Philip doesn't even know it, but he kind of follows the same rules. So no one really ever gets offended. It's a really easy flowing way working with him. Philip, say hi.
Hey, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Today we're going to talk about commercial build outs, commercial building, anything that involves commercial contracting. Philip has been contracting even though he's only 25 years old. He's been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. Um, and he does a great, great job. We just built one over in Unionville Indian Trail Road. It came out amazing. We just finished it. We'll dive a little bit more into that. And we got half of it leased already. And we'll go over what that process looks like, what went into that, what kind of prep work went into that, etc. If you're looking to lease a space, if you're looking to build something or buy something, we'll talk about what that process looks like as well. At what point it's good to call a broker, at what point it's good to call a contractor, and how all those pieces fit together to see a final piece. Because sometimes the process can start years before. You even, just when the idea is born, you should start talking to certain vendors. And when does the broker step in? When does the contractor step in? What our job is, what Philip's job is, etc. That's what we're gonna dive in today. Philip, question for you. Can you dive a little bit deeper into how you started in this field, what you like about this field, why did you choose this field, why commercial contracting, why not residential contracting? Just tell us a little bit more how you ended up where you are.
Sure. So my first experience in commercial contracting was actually at our church construction back in 2018 or 2019. I was there just helping, doing various tasks,
How old were
whatever.
you?
I was 17 or 18,
Jeez.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were just with my brother-in-law. Now we were just working there, doing everything, and that's kind of where I really got interested into construction in general, and then specifically commercial. I really loved reading plans. I love how commercial plans are super in depth. There's a section for absolutely everything. There's a detail for everything. There's a height for everything, and so there's very little guesswork. And like you said, commercial is no feelings. It's strictly business, which is great for me because that's I don't know what to say, but it's
Makes life
great.
easy.
Yeah, it does. It brings in the kind of customers that you want, and it brings in the kind of people you want to work with, where emotions aren't the first most important thing. It's about numbers, making it work, and if it works, you move forward.
And you end up being a therapist to them.
Right, right. So I started there, and from there, I got my general contractor license, right after high school. Passed it on our first try, and from there, I started doing some side jobs, odd jobs here. I did warehouse renovations. I did some site work like asphalt, just a little bit here and there. But between there, I finished my bachelor's degree in finance. I worked at a bank for a while, but I realized that was not for me, and I got back
What
in.
bank was that?
It was for Ukrainian
Okay.
Federal
So
Credit
you have a
Union.
little bit
Yeah,
of bank experience
yeah.
as
So I
well.
have a little bit of banking experience. I did some loans, home, auto, stuff like that, but it was just not for me. I love being out in the field. I love figuring things out. I love plans, and that's what I'm passionate about.
Okay. And right now you have, so you got Unionville Indian Trail going up, you got Forsyth Avenue, you got Beltway, and you got the neighboring property, right? So you got four big projects. And how much total square feet are you? Is that almost 100,000 square feet? Over 100,000 square feet?
Just under 100, maybe 90,000 and some change.
and
Yeah.
you're a partner on all these deals.
Correct. Yep.
I mean, Philip, that's amazing for your age to have that much square footage
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
partnered on something like
It's a
that.
huge thing. I'm very very proud first of all and grateful for the opportunity. It's all about meeting the right people, relationships, and trust
And
between them.
what would you credit your early success to?
Just hunger and drive for learning more and wanting to do this. Like I knew that I wanted to do this, and I wanted to figure out a way to do it as professionally and as efficiently as possible. So I didn't take a standard route of working for a company and getting experience. I really just dove in and kind of
Yeah.
figured it out on my own in a way, and I owe that
And
out to a partnership for sure.
maybe veering off a little bit from the subject, but there's this question that I always bring up, and there's God's abundance, God's blessing, and hard work.
Mhm.
And the question always arises where to have success, is it hard work or is it God's abundance, God's blessing? What would you say will drive you toward more success?
I would say it's a combination of both. I mean, you can pray and ask God to bless you, but if you're not going to do anything,
This is a
it's
good point. Yeah.
not much is going to happen. So I think it's a combination of God's blessing, but also you have to work hard for it. Like you most of the time you won't be just handed everything. You have to work hard for it. You have to struggle. You have to go through things, and through all that, you have to trust in God's plan and trust in His guidance through it all.
Amen. Where do you see yourself? So you're 25 now. Let's say you're 45, 55 years old. Do you still see yourself doing the same thing? How long do you think you want this to go? Do you have an end goal in sight, or is it too early in your career to have that?
So we do have a 20-year plan. It's
Okay.
probably hard to say,
Can you
but
share with us?
sure, sure. So our goal is with our company K&Y Builders to grow it into a large or a medium to large construction company, focusing on commercial work, whether it's retail, whether it's warehousing, whether it's flex, what we're doing now, or restaurants, tenant outfits, all of that. So our
Is
goal is
this
to
mostly
grow
for
into a large
yourself or for
company
clients as
for
well?
clients as well.
Okay.
Right now, we are focusing on our own work, on our own projects, but the goal is to expand
Okay.
and grow into a full size construction company.
I love to hear it. I love to hear when young immigrants are working hard and using the American dream to their advantage because America's got so much opportunities
Oh yeah,
and you just got to work for it.
absolutely.
Um, let's get into commercial build outs, commercial building, all this kind of stuff, the fun stuff. So when a client approaches me and they want, let's say, let's keep it very simple. A client approaches me, they want to build out a coffee shop. They say, I have this hobby and I want to make it a successful business. When they approach me, our systems are we'll collect financials from them, we'll collect their business plan, we'll try to figure out how they're funding this thing, and see how much homework they've done for this thing. We always run into this question of how much the build out will cost. And I've been doing this for a little while now. We just hit over $100 million in sales. And in those sales, we realized people's budgets are always way less than what they actually are. Someone will come to us and be like, yeah, I want to open up a coffee shop. I don't care about the thing. I have $10,000 saved up and I want to have a coffee shop. And when I try to tell them, hey, it's not going to cost 10,000, like, okay, maybe 12. I was like, you're way off.
Mhm.
And so I try to push them toward meeting with a contractor like yourself. At what point do you think somebody should reach out to you? What kind of homework and due diligence do they have done before they reach out or when they reach out to get a broader stroke of the costs? And how close can you get to the actual cost? What is it based on? Square footage, um, types of machines they're going to use,
Mhm.
FF&E? What does all that look like?
Price per square foot is my enemy. That's probably when people find out what I do, that's what they ask me first. How much is the cost per square foot to put up a building? And that's such a loaded question because you can't accurately tell someone how much a building will cost if you don't know what they need. A metal building will cost one thing, but how about the build out? How about everything else? If they want a restaurant, you have to have certain infrastructure in place. You have to have grease traps in place. You have to have vents in place, and that's a hard thing to gauge just off of
But
square
people are
footage.
asking, what's your price per square foot? Because they're asking for other contractors their price per square foot, and they're doing a very, very minimal homework. And they think if you say a higher price when that's the actual price,
Yeah.
they think you're expensive. When the other guy gave a cheap price, it's just not accurate. They automatically go with the other guy. Do you
Def
see that happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's in commercial. It's not that simple. It never is because build outs are very usually they're very um not client based or tenant based. They're based on what on the needs of that tenant. So you should get a contractor involved as early as possible to find out just a rough number I can give you, sure, no problem. But to get an exact number, you need to get me involved as soon as possible to build out a set of plans, to get an idea, to get an architect involved, engineers involved, to figure out not just what you need, but what will be required for you to operate. You can want one thing, but a city or a county can have different requirements for you to operate that business properly. So it's important to get you on early. Get me on early.
So if as early as let's say the idea is born and they want to start doing homework, is it fine if they call you right away just to start getting a pulse for what this will cost?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to help as early as I possibly can. It really depends
Okay.
on how far along it is, but as early as possible. That's the easiest answer. If they're just looking at a property, I'm happy to have a phone call, have a consultation with them, and just get a rough ballpark of what the requirements will be. If I don't know the answer, I can find it.
Mhm, okay.
That's what
You
I do.
you mentioned earlier, you run into permitting,
Mhm.
depends on which jurisdiction you're building in for timeline and stuff like that. And when people are borrowing money and at a high interest rate, that timeline can really skew the estimates. Those are one of the things that I noticed that people don't account for. What are some other things you notice that first time business owners or first time people who want to build something, things that they don't account for?
Probably, like I said, their wants versus what they're required to do in order to operate. So if you want to have a coffee shop, it's not as simple as just putting up some cabinets, installing some outlets for coffee machines. You have different requirements for how you get rid of gray water or
Yeah,
all that kind of things. There's different requirements for all that. Do you need hoods? Do
yeah.
you need sprinkler systems? Do you need fire protection? Those are all things that they're not pretty, not fun to talk about, but you need them in order to operate.
And even let's say a client finds a space that used to be a coffee shop before they took over. Is it possible that even though it was a coffee shop, but they want to open up a new coffee shop, they might have to redo, like you mentioned, sprinkler systems, hoods, grease traps if they're making food, or can that stuff just be reused for the new person?
Sometimes you can, but it's really hard to say. I mean, it depends on when it was built. If it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, codes change every few years. So requirements change every few
Okay.
years. That's something that you do need to look at. You do need to consider.
So if it was built 10 years ago and they've been using it and the code's changed now, it's very possible that 50 or 80% of the stuff that they had won't work for them and they'll have to redo it.
Absolutely.
And so we're talking about the tenant build outs. For those of you who don't know, whenever, for example, we'll keep using coffee shops, if you want to open up a coffee shop, you have to account for tenant build outs. And sometimes tenant build outs are harder to finance because it's not real property. Sometimes they consider it personal property or FF&E. Um, so that process for building that out will look different from a lender's perspective compared to building a building. When building a building, Philip, I know commercial development takes very, very long compared to building a house. Wh- Where, where and why? Where does that time go, and why does it take so long? Is it permitting? Is it planning? Is it engineering? Is it civil? What is it? Why does it take so long compared? A warehouse can take 2 years to build out, compared to a house can take 5 to 6 months.
Right. When you're building commercial, most of the time you as a developer are in charge for the infrastructure. So the parking lots, the stormwater, the sewer, the water, fire protection, all those things you are responsible for them. And so before you can get to the actual permitting process, which is just applying for a building permit and your building, you have to go through civil review. You have to go through development, depending on the jurisdiction. They have different names for it, but you have to draw a set of plans that account for everything on that property. So you have to figure out how to get your infrastructure there. You have to make sure that you have enough space to park all those people. You have to have enough infrastructure
Okay.
available to even build that building. So you, as the developer, are responsible for every single cost. Whereas in a residential build, most of the time the infrastructures are in place, or you hope they are, right? And you will just apply for a building permit and you'll put up a building.
Okay. Okay. So political and legal just takes a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know we had this conversation earlier. How political is it when it comes to building? Does the local jurisdiction like to play games?
Absolutely. One example in the county that we're building in right now in Union County, they have a big infrastructure problem. So The
What do you
development,
mean by infrastructure
so
problem?
they're growing a lot faster than they can handle. So there's
Okay.
more buildings coming up faster than they can upgrade, their wastewater treatment plants and
Okay.
their water. So a lot of
So
times
they just can't
yeah,
supply water fast enough, and
yeah,
they can't take the dirty water and process it fast enough.
exactly.
So they're slowing everybody down.
They're slowing everyone down, and so I had this situation where I'm going through plan review, and my plans. So they have 30 days to review a set of plans. They take every single one of those days, and they'll deny you for just one simple comment. Like there was, for example, I had one page that didn't have the call 811 logo on it, and I got declined for that. And
It
so
was a what?
call 811. So
Oh, are you
81, yeah,
serious?
like 811 before you dig, you have to have that on every single page, and one page was missing it, and so
Do you think they use that just to give them more
absolutely,
time to review it?
yeah, yeah, they take every single second they can,
And
and
on day 30, they'll be like, hey, you're missing this thing.
and they buy time that way.
Ah,
And you can save time by knowing certain people, knowing certain knowing certain engineering firms. If
yeah, yeah. So it is political.
it is,
We just submitted a survey to build a smaller duplex for a client over in Charlotte, and the same thing. They kicked us back because the survey said right of way on the road, but it should have said public right of way.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so they kicked it back. And another 3 weeks we gotta wait
And you
for
gotta wait.
that.
You just gotta
Yeah,
wait.
to get out of the way.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times it also depends on who you work with. Like for civil engineering, if you work with a company that's never worked in that county, they don't know these small caveats. They don't know these small things.
And they don't
And you
know the
waste time.
people.
Yeah, they don't know the people, so you don't have those relationships. So time gets wasted like that.
Yeah.
If you know a company that's been working with that county for countless years, they know every single person who's reviewing it. It can go a lot quicker because they trust that person. They have a relationship with them, and
So you've built quite a lot of projects now in Union County, and even some of the context you've shared with me for zoning. But do you see that from the very first project that you did, your relationship with the county, now to your fourth or fifth or whatever you're doing now that it's much easier because they know you?
absolutely. Even like our building inspectors, I know them pretty well now. Not that it's like corrupt or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
but I know who they are. They know who I am. They trust my work, and so they'll come and they'll be lenient with me, and they know that I do good work, so they'll trust me with that.
Okay.
Whereas someone new or a national builder, for example, that they don't know, inspectors will be a lot harsher. They're not gonna work with you. They're not gonna talk with you. They're just gonna look exactly. They're gonna look for something to fail you on for sure.
And as far as when it comes to political stuff, I know some folks have had issues where right before they give you a certificate of occupancy or CO as we call it, they like to throw a little fee at you or make you do something. Have you encountered anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. That that
Tell
that
us about it.
was that was a great lesson for me on this building that we just finished up on Unionville. During our review period, 2 or 3 years prior, uh, DOT had owned the road and they wanted to expand it. They wanted me to cover it, and we didn't agree to it.
And this
But
is prior to you started building.
yeah, this is 3 years ago. This is 3 years ago.
And
While
there
we're
was no
still in planning,
agreement.
nothing,
Okay.
nothing happened.
And they gave you permits,
Yeah,
gave you the green flag to
we
go
got
and
all our
build.
permits. We got all our encroachment agreements. Everything is
Yeah.
good to go. We're building, and then we're going for our final engineering inspection. And the engineer says, "Hey, you got to expand this road. You know,
Like you have to
or
do it out of your own
we
pocket?
have to do it out of our own pocket. We have to expand the road. We have to fix this. We
So
have to
your
fix this."
building's done, everything's done,
Yeah,
you're ready to get CO, tenants are lined up, ready to move in. City
yeah.
says, "Hey, we see everything's ready. We want you to build us $1 million road now."
They and they can do that, and because they're holding my CO, right? I have
Yeah,
tenants
so
who
they
need to
have a
move
lot of
in.
weight over you.
They have a lot of weight and a lot of power over me, so I have no choice but to just do it. I have people waiting on me. I have a bank waiting for me to give them the CO. I have tenants waiting for me. I have to do it.
So it's still politics.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they take every advantage they can out of developers because they can.
But knowing you, Philip, I highly doubt that you just rolled over and built them that road. So how'd you get out of it? What'd you do? If you want to
I
share.
did. I did roll over. I tried to do some.
But you
I
didn't
tried
build a
to push
road.
back. No, we didn't. We
So
ended
you
up
didn't
just.
roll over. You found a way out.
I just ended up paying them.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
I paid. I had to pay the town a certain amount of money,
Okay.
and eventually someone else will build it for me. Pretty
Okay.
much. So
Okay.
so I
So you
didn't.
covered some of that cost for that road
Yeah. So
instead of
I
them building the
agreed to
road.
cover part of the cost to construct the
Okay.
road. I didn't have to do it, but that was still a huge cost that I didn't account for, and I had to pay for.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sucks. That sucks
it was
because
huge.
we're not gonna talk about numbers, but guys, those numbers are I mean, they're 6-digit numbers. They're
Yeah.
huge numbers, and a lot of the commercial guys I talk to, this is a pretty common thing with local jurisdictions, because local jurisdictions, it makes them look very good and helps them get reelected if they can make the developers pay for updating their town. And if a politician can, and especially if it's up for reelection, and if a politician can say, "Hey, I made this 25-year-old kid pay for my road," that sounds like a douchebag move, but in the eyes of voters, that makes them so happy. For some reason, developers are just not liked people. It's just how it is. It's just how it works, and it just politics are going to politic, and people are going to try to scrape money wherever they can, and they look at developers and they just look at it as just a big money bag, and how can we empty this guy's pockets? That's kind of how that works. It's just a little bit of political and legal. Speaking of political and legal, Philip, how important is it to understand the political and legal landscape while building and before getting into it? Like, does it matter if there's a re-election coming up? Have you seen that affect anything?
I don't know if I have. In terms of re-elections, it could be. I don't think I've ran into anything like that.
Okay.
I know that towns in general, they want developers to pay for as much as you can, because, like you said, because they can, they hold the power over it, and it looks good for the town. It looks good for their voters. Say, hey, we had this developer pay for this out of pocket instead of your
Yeah.
taxes, right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely real. It's
Yeah.
absolutely
Exactly.
real.
So I had an experience recently where we were rezoning a property, and I was talking to my attorney about rezoning this property. It was in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and we have a couple neighbors there who are very anti rezoning because we wanted to make it higher density. And so the attorney should have asked me. He's like, "Who are these neighbors? Like, are they left leaning or right leaning?" And the local count, whoever was in charge of this rezoning for that, it's Charlotte's broken up into different sections, and for that section, whoever was in charge of rezoning was a very left leaning, what are they called? Politician, counselors,
Mhm.
staff. Anyways, the people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
they were very left leaning, and so the neighbors there were very right leaning. And he said, "This is great because if the neighbors come and complain, the local staff member who's in charge of this rezoning is very left leaning, and she will go out of her way just to make the people who are right leaning mad, and she'll pass your rezoning just for that." The
Wow.
reason,
Wow.
and he's like, "But if you wait till the re-elections, it might be the opposite way around, and you won't get your rezoning." Um, I don't know if I want to share that. I'm trying not to share any names, but political and legal is very, very real. You're still dealing with people. It's still emotions. It doesn't matter if you try to avoid it or keep it out. You're still gonna run into it. All these little things matter, and this is why working with a broker who knows this, working with a contractor who understands this, can get you so much further. Just for example, with this rezoning process, if we didn't start this rezoning and we waited an extra 6 months and the reelection didn't go our way, we would never get that property rezoned, and that property would never be worth double or triple whatever it is after rezoning. So very, very important to understand this kind of stuff. Thank you guys. We're gonna try to make more of these videos. So we did one with a commercial contractor. We want to do some more with commercial lenders, surveyors, appraisers, and different aspects, different vendors to give you guys a better grasp, a better idea, a better picture, and just add more color to how this whole thing comes together. Thanks.